I got exposed to the katta culture because he's the god. That's where I told my client, you can't pressurize me to use a particular.
So what was your drive?
So if you want to draw a line on paper, take a responsibility of that line.
And what would be your message for those who have not shifted to BIM yet?
That was the era, कुछ भी वहाँ error रहेगा तो boss गाली देता था. Technology should not be front runner. They should be a supporting tool. I will never ever forget her. She's the one. We have her in Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Goa, and recently we have small satellite office in Dubai also.
So, I mean, what next? BIM is done. You are on BIM happily. What is your next? What you are experimenting with right now?
In 5 years, it's difficult to learn everything.
Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of the BIM Shift. Today we are at Beyond Design Pune office and I am with architect Ajay Tonpe, and I should not be introducing him because sometimes when I feel that I need some direction or some motivation, I talk to him. But in a nutshell, I can tell you that he is very passionate and understanding about technology as well as human sentiments, and obviously he is an architect, so design is there. But apart from design, he is very good with technology, and sometimes he does more R&D than I do, being a technical person, and obviously he is motivational. So I would like to welcome him on this day. Welcome to the BIM Shift.
Thank you.
My first question, or rather first icebreaker, would be, tell us something about your journey, from a student or from where you belong to, and why architecture and how, and then how beyond design. So tell us about your story, your journey.
This will take a lot of time, but just to tell you, I'll directly come to my part of architecture first, and then I'll go back. It's always a question for, to choose any field, whether you want a field where 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 or 2 plus 2 can be anything, So that's the thing you have to decide in every part of your life in terms of choosing your career. Till school days, okay, dad, mom says you have to get into school, we have to get into school. Being from the vernacular medium school, so always my education was from Marathi medium school. So, but I lived my life in my school days. Once I came out of, 10th standard, and there was a shift in terms of cultural shift, because being in a vernacular school, you are always among your comfort zone. And when you come out of a thing, I'm from Ruia College, 11, 12. And that's where your cultural shift happens. Communication skills has to improve. And being a shy guy, an introvert guy, it was tough for me. But I had my set of friends. I got exposed to the katta culture, whoever knows Ruia. And obviously, culturally, college was very rich in terms of functions happening, dramas, plays. So that's where, and though I was a person who was 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, and that's where I got to understand, no, there has to be a different way of looking at the life. So once I came out of, I was in 12th standard, and I realized, this is not going right. I can be a doctor, I can be a pharmacist. I got the admissions also, but I said, this is not the way I want to do it. And I happened to meet my mama that time, and he said, okay, I'll introduce to another field. He is an engineering background. He said, why don't you try? So he introduced me one of the architect that time. And he said, okay, this field is creativity field. You can have your own thought process, and only thing I remember that time is you can have your own business, your own practice. And nobody had told me this, because every time I was knowing, okay, I'm being a doctor or engineer, whatever, then there is a job and work culture is different. So that stuck in my mind, okay, this is different. Then I studied, okay, this is a part of design, which was, okay, I was just good enough in terms of my sketching and understanding colors, because that's all we know. Okay, if you need to do architecture, you have to be good with sketchings. So, okay, fine. And then I said, I asked only one question to that architect. Do I have to be very good with my maths? So he said, okay, structure is the subject which you have to know, but you have to know conceptually. And that's where I understand, okay, subjects need not be understood theoretically, but logics are important in this field. And I said, okay, then went through that examination process, passed out, got admission in JJ, I got the admission, and Rizvi is another. And Rizvi is my college. And where first day we met our principal, Akhtar Chaur. And there, sir is so passionate about architecture. He is like, why architecture and what it can bring change in personal life and to others. And that's where I decided, okay, if I want to learn architecture, this is the college, because he is the God, And my decision was right, obviously. And that's how my architecture journey started. I met a lot of gurus at every corner in college. Kirti Unwala is another ma'am. I will never ever forget her. She's the one in my final year who directed me, where I understood another part, because at heart, I am not a person who will be completely poetic. I am a process-oriented guy. And my college environment was more of, creativity. But somewhere that has to be channelized for me. It has to be channelized with the help of process. She is the one who guided me, how you can implement the process in your design. And technical aspects are also important. And that's where I got, settled down, kind of a thing to take on how to deal with architecture. Because obviously exposure was not there of the field, because I was not well traveled, because you need to know our surrounding. College se ghar se college will not teach you architecture. You have to go around, you have to see things, to feel it. Never done that. So that's where I learned, worked with her. I remember my final, once I passed out my final year, she took me to Matheran to do the documentation of 300 bungalows. So every day morning we used to get up and, 10,000 square feet villas, we used to measure, do the sketch drawings, come back in the evening. All we used to sit together, discuss about architecture. She used to talk about history. And that's, we used to move around Matheran. So looking at the locals, looking at the people. She's talking about her, experience in real life. That helped me to understand how, architecture can bring the change to people, and also how, as a fresher, we have to pursue that field as per your knowledge. So I said, okay, once I passed out college, she sent me directly to the interiors field. And that's where the project was on field. So project management is the part which I got exposed, because the project was for one of the financial institution, and that 25 years back, it was project management. Somebody's coming from Singapore was very rare. Project scale of 10,000 square feet is a talk of town. And I was privileged to work on those kind of projects, understanding the pressure, because those days also architecture was not so much of pressure in terms of architectural practice, 10 to 5 and all. Here we were working morning 9 to night 12 o'clock, go back, take the train, go home, morning again, report on site, 9 o'clock. But understood the processes, services, knowledge of services, how services happens. Because those was rare things on architectural sites, especially in interior fits. So doing the sketches, my boss taught me, another guru I got, Prakash sir, and he's the one who taught me how to choose the right ply, wood, what is a drywall partition. I met many people during that. I was like a sponge, just keep listening, making a notes, keep listening, making a notes, learn the costing, materials. So project management, costing, materials, that's the thing, I learned in that phase. And the people around me helped me to, again, how to be process oriented, write it down. So that is how, it helped me to structure my work. And then I realized, okay, processes are done. Now I want to know what is good architecture and bad architecture to learn. Because still that exposure was not there. And I happened to meet my next guru, Sachin Akshikar. And I just went to him. I was working on one project and he saw me. He was my kind of a guide on that project. But he saw I had some energy. I know I was not doing so great, but he found that, okay, I have energy. Fine, maybe. But I went to him and I clearly said, look, I may not be good in my designing. I never done a good drafting also. Will you teach me? I'm ready. Then those 4 years, just whatever he said, I kept on working. He's a brilliant designer. He's a man of proportion. Evening 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock we used to sit. He will open a book. He will explain me that particular project. He will take any damn project and say how it is designed, how the proportions are worked out. Again, that particular office was a structured office. Only 2 of us, he and me. But the amount of projects what we used to complete in, those days were like around 4 or 5 architectural projects and 4 or 5 interior sites were going on, and we used to, only 2 of us used to work. He had such a clarity in his design. I still remember one line, what he said. As an architect, we have an immense responsibility of drawing that line. So if you want to draw a line on paper, take a responsibility of that line. You have no rights to erase it back. What it means in real life architecture, you cannot break anything. And that always stuck in mind. So anything you're doing, try and do it correct at the first time. And 4 years, that was my training. And from there on, then I realized, okay, now learned it. Sachin is going to have his way of practice. I have to look into interiors. He was doing architecture, interior, both. But I wanted to be part of a larger organizations. And that's where I moved to interiors field. That's where I learned architecture and detailing. Costing I learned earlier phase. So everything was there. Now it was a time to implement and individually to implement. Now I didn't wanted to have guide, but just check whether I can do it. And that's where I went to my first office. And first project was around 2.5 lakh square feet office building, IT building. Was not knowing what is office, but boss, my again, Ashwin Aryamani, he had a confidence on me. He said, no, you can do it. Okay, I can do it. So again, the help of whatever learned in an earlier organization, the confidence was there, how to be organized. So learn the processes, do the case studies. As an architect, we have to do a lot of case studies. Until you do your self-learning, nothing is going to happen. So there onwards, I think millions of square feet we have finished by now. The numbers are not known, but what I remember, and I always try to remember what is good and what is bad. That's what I learned in my design practice, and still beyond design follows that. just do a good design. What do you mean by good design? It's not aesthetics, colors, everything. All practical things. It has to be functional. The person who is going to stay in that space, the people who are going to use that space, they should feel wow. And they not should feel wow looking at something, but just sitting over here, they should feel comfortable.
Feeling is more.
That space feel is important and not the say. That's where I learned don't overdo the designs. Just do practical things. And obviously to do that, technology was always in my DNA. Because it was always there, I want to use technology some or other way. So kept on studying. In the Sundays is the time of me time, where I will be bit of away from architecture, take the technology, how to implement an architecture. So learn CAD those days. It was a funny incident. In CAD, I learned a CAD and I used to learn and I used to teach also by going into. But one thing I remember those days, the student who used to come, I never used to teach them the tools. I used to ask them, what is your education? Okay, somebody used to do interior drafting, somebody used to do architectural student. Then we used to take that topic, okay, to do this, these are the tools, how do you. So we used to connect the actual subject and then tools are going to support you. So that is how I learned myself when I learned these softwares. And that is how I used to teach them. And same thing we follow in our office. We are pretty fluidic in terms of using our technologies, but we try to use the technologies such a way that technology should not be front runner. They should be a supporting tool. We control them. They do not overtake us. That's why our team is such a way that it's a balanced team. We have a team who are absolutely on paper, and there is a team who will convert that into using technology. So that's how we are practicing currently. So that's how my journey.
You mentioned about taking notes. So would you prefer taking notes on electronic device or pen and paper?
Very frankly, I'm both okay. But important is, writing it down bold and bullets wise, something which is important. When I had a paper, I used to write those bold and underline and then next line, smaller lines.
True.
So that process. So now iPad maybe pen and paper, use a pen. Yeah, writing is better than a typing because then idea flows, It comes here and it goes through the pen rather than with that keyboard. That disconnect happens.
So hand-brain connect is better with pen.
Pen is
rather
better
than type.
True.
Right.
That's right.
So how beyond design happened? I mean, that is also an interesting topic.
That's
we are celebrating 17th year now.
Yeah,
we are in 17th year of beyond design.
Yes, in fact, our new office we opened again in Mumbai. So that's a great journey we are having. Beyond design idea came as all three of us, like Indrajit, me, Alad is our senior partner. We were working with our earlier organizations and everybody had their own experiences, and we always had our mind, we have to be process oriented. Alad and me got connected very well in that. I never worked with Alad initially, but I used to see him.
How you met? That is.
That's my first organization where I used to work. Alad was in that office for a year or so. He used to handle his own project. I was doing my other project. But he used to celebrate his work. I saw he used to give recognition to his team. They used to show their projects, how they are doing it. So it was not more of a design aspect, but how they took care of that project, how they implemented. So that particular thing, again, how he is processor, how he is managing project with a lesser team members, how he has a clarity. He still writes on people, again making a notes and those things. I said, no, this is the guy, I would love to collaborate. So with Alad, I used to talk, okay, this is how we should, work. Your processes are good. And then we realized, why can't we work together? Because finally we see we need a firm or a studio where everybody should have a right of expression and freedom of experimentation. These are two important things, expression and experimentation. Because that's where you're afraid, in any organization, obviously everybody's right. They will feel if experiment fails, then what? Who will take responsibility? The owner has to take the responsibility. The principal will be responsible. He said, no, I want to experiment. And if it fails, it's fail, it's okay. Because that's where, there are certain things in my life when I had that small so-called entrepreneurship का भूत चढ़ा था तो initially मैं खुद का practice करेगा उसमें हमने मार खाया पैसा डुबाया all those things happened with Alad also we said but still now we learned a lot we know how it has to be structured way so we should form a firm which believes in practical solutions and also a firm where people will get a chance to experiment and express them. So first तो मैं ही था कि मुझे ही express करना था. So we said and that's how Beyond Design came in existence. Name is also Beyond Design design is one aspect of it. We will say design is in terms of planning principles, aesthetics principles, proportions and everything. But beyond that, how to build it correctly, how services are also important part of design. They also need to be taken care. Right cost is important for the project. Timeline is important. So all these things has to be important. That's why it's beyond the design we work. And that's why the name is also, Beyond Design came in that.
And today you have offices in Mumbai, Pune, Hyderabad and Goa.
Yeah, we have Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Goa, and recently we have small satellite office in Dubai also. We are in fact doing projects in Dubai market.
Okay.
So that has happened last 6 months back.
Okay. So, I mean, from all these experiences that you have just mentioned to us, where technology fits in or how this technological thing started. So what was your first thought or first drive behind, going to BIM? I remember we meeting in 2017, August or September, because I remember we started from 1st of October, like real implementation of. So what was your drive?
Technology wise, I think this workplace interior is the field where technology is most important. It starts with rendering. Everybody knows. Drafting is in college, okay, we know AutoCAD. So it is right from 95 onwards, we were using those CAD. So in college, we got exposed. But the most important is, this rendering. Views, 3D Max and those things, we always got exposed to it. Though I never used those rendering tools and 3D Max because it was always in mind, it has to be easy to use. If you remember, SketchUp came in and that's the tool which we all liked. Again, I was not a SketchUp. I never used hands-on these tools, but I was knowing all the tools, how to use it. So I used to guide my people. I was always on paper and elevation sections, never got into actual use of it.
But you always understood logic, I think.
Logic, so technology is a need. That's definite because you need a quality, you need a speed. So that was there. So Beyond Design, we had our team who used to have a 3D Max and visualization softwares we used to use. And for CAD, other work we have, production is a 2D CAD work. So softwares which will support that. But then we realized that every time, and that was a part in my earlier organization also, I remember, that's where I got, idea of using BIM technology. In college only we were exposed to BIM. There is something called technology of BIM, where everything is in 3D and then you get a production drawings can be taken out from that model. So I still remember Bentley workstation. That's where one of my friend had installed on his machine, and oh, that's nice idea. But it just went away because after passing out of the college, we never realized we should try that, because in real life, nobody used in any of the offices. So it was always that 2D workflow, CAD based. And so in my earlier, I tried working, can we get into BIM? But we never got a time. And here we started our journey in Beyond Design, and we realized, okay, after 3 or 4 years, I realized it's just wasting our time. My ideas are getting transferred into model using 3D model, render it, but those are not getting transferred inside the drawings. Because putting right proportion, heights, exact, accurate, with the help of those visualization modeling tools, they're not going to be accurate. So there used to be error. And that's where I used to have an irritation. Why can't we have a platform where I'll design and drawings should be out of that? And then one day, one of the clients said, you have to follow BIM as a process. And then it stuck. I missed it, karke. This is the process I should have used long time back. Then I said, okay, now it is time. Client is asking me, I have to get into it. Now, which software, then choose of software came in picture. Then most heard software we used, we tried using it, the market, whatever they are using. But I said, no, that's not working well for me. And this is not it. Then that is the time where I was on Mac platform also. So then idea was, okay, whatever the softwares, whichever softwares we are going to use, they should be compatible for Windows and Mac both. So then we were experimenting, and then I realized, okay, somewhere I read that Archicad is also there. And I think that's where we met.
We had our first conversation.
Before that, I met somebody who talked about Revit implementation process. But I was not getting convinced, it was too cold conversation happening, and it was more of a software. And as a team, when we started experimenting, I was not able to explain the logic of that software to my kids, because I never work on software. I just read, I fiddle the software, I try and understand the logic, how this software has to function, tool we will find. I was not able to do that with Revit. And I said, this is not my tool. And then Archicad, I was again online, I saw some videos and these things. Then I realized, okay, this is black and white. White paper and black and white. So it's like a sketch.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, fine, this at least looks good. Okay, then I saw it as a sketchy feeling and as a SketchUp feeling. So then I said, okay, my upcoming architect buddies may able to implement this particular software because they are coming from the SketchUp background.
Correct.
So I said, okay, let me give a try. And that's where we met. We had a long session discussion. You being an architect, so our discussion was more of architect to architect. That was important. It was not an engineer to architect or salesman to architect. So I think we had a word. You gave me confidence. Yes, we can use. Obviously, I had a huge risk.
Yeah, true.
Because my project was demand was from Revit. And I said, I don't want to, follow a particular software. Then we met, you gave me confidence, okay, there is a transfer, there is a common file format, IFC is possible, so that can go into it. I said, "ठीक है ना, work होगा ना." So then I went again back to Google and studied, yes, that format is developing, everything is working well. So that's where I told my client, you can't pressurize me to use a particular software. You have to have a choice for use of software. Because whenever we were on 2D platform, have you ever asked me which platform I'm going to use? I'm not using, for 2D production, I'm not using whatever the most heard software. I'm using software which you have never heard also.
True.
So I said that should not be criteria. Output is your important. You need information, you need a model, I'll give you. Your platform has to compatible for it. And then I studied, okay, that platform can take up IFCs. And luckily at client side also, there's one very good guy was there who was very serious about openBIM. He said, yes, it is possible. And we cannot, stop you not using alternative. We will help you to convert. But he also told me, you also have to give me data in the right format. I said, I'm okay. Let's talk about now data and all those. So that's where I think we decided, okay, let's go ahead with Archicad. Meanwhile, I tried on regular hardware how it is working. So वो first line मारा, वो wall मारा, वो मारा. Well, ठीक है, this is easy, And I think then we got into trainings and our journey.
It's been 8 years now.
8 years.
8 years, yeah. Long time,
True,
but time flies.
Yeah, but still learning. It's vast. It's vast. It's like architecture it's a practicing. So same thing as these softwares. उसको कैसे आपको utilize करना है. The same tool by you and me can be handled differently. Your speed can be faster than mine, using same tool. So every day you learn.
I get this question from lot of places that can Archicad be used in interiors? So I always give your example and Khozema sir's example that yeah, it is possible. I have 2 live case studies where it is used in 2 different type of workflows. One is office interiors, corporate interiors and architecture, and one is hospitality. And like you very rightly said that it's a very versatile and flexible tool that every office can use it the way they want. So that is like important thing.
Yeah.
But I would also want to know that, there were so many software options. Like you also mentioned that you have seen Bentley in college days. Why not Bentley and why Archicad? What was that one core reason that?
See, softwares may be available, that time also we were knowing Vectorwork, Allplan. These all were known. In fact, Archicad, Allplan, and when we see first interface, they're kind of similar, monochromatic.
Yeah.
So I would have gone on that. But another important thing, who is going to there to support, because we need a support if we are going to, take a risk in terms of using not so hard software and those things. So obviously you were there, and then I said, okay, let's go ahead with. Again, those days it was perpetual. We were looking at a perpetual solutions. Definitely financially was also viability was there. So we said, okay. And that is why we choose as a, tool of that. Obviously important aspects of technically there are many reasons, But I won't call it. I will say people can use Revit. People can use Archicad. People can use ABC. They should know how to use it. In a first 6 months, you have to just choose your tool. Then don't change it. Whichever tool you have, just do mastery and do the workaround to it. Every software will have its own pros and cons. There will be limitations. It can't be, that developer can't think he can't fulfill everybody's wish in that small platform. But there has to be a software should be open enough to add APIs, some programming coming in. It should have certain add-ons coming in. Community should be, open to discuss about those things. So if these things are there, then, a rigid software also can become fluidic. And I think graphic software is that way is pretty fluidic. I have friends because of Archicad in Europe. I have somebody in Singapore, Malaysia, who are, we are coming together and discussing something, how the software can be used, how IFC can be transferred. GDL is one of the core thing of Graphisoft Archicad. We are making the tools ourselves. We are discussing about these tools to other people. I am taking support and services from other people to make these tools. So that's, once you start pursuing it, and then when you know, okay, you spend like after 8 years, now you know, okay, it is possible, anything and everything. Challenges are keep coming.
Yeah.
Parametric is a big challenge, Finally, we know there is a grasshopper, rhino, because in our design, we do use parametric elements some or other places. But still, I have my habit of doing on paper with, I know what is the geometry going to be there. Only a couple of locations I will see how proportions are looking and I finalize. But if I want iterations, then you need software to help you to create the iteration. Graphisoft has these, connections coming in. And within the Graphisoft also, we can, have more flexibility using parameter. May not be to the level, obviously. But for our kind of workflow, it is working well. So these kind of things we found possible. You're coming in picture. Obviously, I never looked into other choices of software.
Yeah. But how would you tell people about GDL? Because there is this market notion that GDL is very difficult, do you feel that GDL is difficult, or it has some logic which can be understood and then GDL is simple, or how would you rate it?
Okay. There are always two schools of thoughts. People who are new age people, who are C++ and newer languages and Python and all, they may not like GDL because GDL is a core basic language. Obviously, I am not a guy who understands the code, but whoever works with me, we always have a dialogue. Why you think this is rigid or something? They used to tell, this language is very basic, it has not got developed further. Now I think last 2 versions, now it has become friendly for the developers, showing the codes and the color parts, having a black background on that thing. So interface has become improved, searches are there, mistakes in the code can be highlighted, and those things were missing earlier. So that's why but logic is similar. Finally, it's a logic of graphical language, how you want to create a 3D using a code. That is a different ball game altogether. But I observed, I had one young kid working with me. He's now moved to Revit way, but he just learned that small cookbook, and he said, "This is so easy, Then I have my colleague who works with me on coding part, Dushyant. He initially also used to be hesitant to use GDL.
I remember Dushyant not liking GDL.
And okay, and I wanted him to use that. Then I followed different way. Okay, we always have to do a 3D model, whatever you need, put it, make a GSM object, open it in the code, and I used to give that code to him. Then he used to study the code. Then he started getting hang of that code. Then he used to say, oh, this code is becoming messy, I'll clean up. Then he got into cookbook. Then he made a simple code and made an object. Now I said, okay, now you made a now make it parametric. And then there was, all our objects are parametric. Like if you remember, first question I had asked you, we are in interiors, how will I do workstation?
I remember.
You said, no, you use a slab and column. And we used to make that, like earlier we used to make, but I never liked. That used to stop my design process. So here I wanted to know, I wanted to see my workstation or whatever object I'm making. Okay, increase the screen height. No, I don't want these legs, I want straight legs. The screen has to be acoustical, not the glass one. Language used to be art. So my designer has to make sure he will be completing those aspects in that object by changing the parameter. And that's where we started making our parametric objects. So workstation is our object which we are using. I don't think I have seen anywhere that kind of object is so customizable and ready for the market. Anybody's workstation in the market we have in our object conceptually. So that's how.
But you gave a very nice tip to all those who really want to learn GDL, that first model in 3D, then convert it to GSM object and see the code and then clean the code. That's a very nice tip. That's an amazing tip.
It's an easy thing.
So, I mean, what next? BIM is done. You are on BIM happily. What is your next? What you are experimenting with right now?
BIM, I don't think it's over. BIM is just, right now we are a part of 3D completion, and inside the office BIM processes, getting followed right from designing, modeling, costing, and to certain level, site execution level. Now we are getting into, now it's a time to, get this BIM to our client level, to project management team. Let them be part of this process so that we all will save the time and we'll all get the time for good design rather than these smaller issues of coordination issues, quantities, and where we spend huge amount of time. Like I still remember earlier, any interior workplace, interior practice, more time used to go in the tender and documentation process. And design used to get hardly any time. Now it's more time for design and lesser time for that. So same thing, now in the studio has that working. Same way when it comes to a real life execution, production of, after production of the drawing, when it goes to execution phase, when the building is getting built, then more time has to be given for the quality and how I'm going to execute. Rather than, drawing coordination issues, a contractor didn't understand the drawings, and because of that, they cannot build properly. So BIM has to reach to that level. We are also learning. There are certain mistakes happening from us. BIM is also growing and, it's changing. The languages are changing. That LOD language is a big hype, that I used to get stressed listening that LOD 500 means I have to draw screws and these things. I said, shit man, I don't want to do this. Okay, what I understand, you have to have a proper geometry and whatever the spaces required for your support system has to make sure they are available. So making a simple rectangular support system is also good enough. So those things, if my proper geometrical model, clash resolve model goes to a contractor, he takes a pause, he studies the design by looking at that 3D and visualizes it, then he will be able to do a good job on site. I may not need to give 100% drawing based details or a construction document. Everything is model based. We can discuss on those details on the model, anything client or a contractor or a project management things they want to give some suggestion to speed up the work, which may be missed by us. We can resolve there. We know what are the implications are going to happen later. Those can be solved and it is getting solved, but it's only happening within our office. It's still that collaboration is not happening between, contractor, client, and architect sitting on that model and doing it. And that's where we are taking on. We're calling it as a CD platform and collaboration on the model. So that's is the next thing you can see.
So what is your mode of communication right now with your contractor on site? How you communicate?
Right now for us is BIMx. For our drawings, it's been what my plotter has not worked for last 2 or 3 years now. It's just sitting idle. So we create all 3D based model and documentation. We publish BIMx. All the docket. Earlier we had a process, okay, first set 1, set 2, set 3, like set out bhej do, फिर partition bhej do, फिर ये bhej do. No, now we take a time. We do a complete set, maybe 80% complete set. We issue on site, work start, we issue it with the help of BIMx. So on site and contractually, BIMx has to be there. Every contractor has to get the license. He has to get the iPad. My team trains them. Nowadays, that training is not required because most of my contractors are smart enough. The supervisor or the actual guy who is working, they know how to handle the model. So they go through the model, they can go through the drawing for the required dimensions and they're executing fantastically on site. So BIMx is our mode of submission of drawings right now. It's a past where hundreds of sheets used to go on site.
So I remember one of your contractor asked for BIMx file from some other architect. That Beyond Design is giving us a BIMx file on iPad. Why are you not giving us? So I know this contractor. But you mentioned that your plotter is not used since 2-3 years. So do you think that that is save on cost, or you would see it as plotter is not used but now BIMx and iPad? So how this ecosystem is? Where is money saved?
I don't want to get into saving part of that. Money, environmental saving is important. Yeah, true. That's the only thing I say. Why should I still remember those days. वो ब्लूप्रिंट निकालने के लिए वो शॉप में वो लाइन के कुछ भी मिस्टेक नहीं चाहिए अपना ट्रेसिंग पेपर पे फिर वो लेके जाना उसको ब्लूप्रिंट लेके आना दैट वाज द ईरा कुछ भी वहाँ एरर रहेगा तो बॉस गाली देता था. And then the era came of plotting on the center where you used to pay hundreds of bucks to get the print, and if there is a mistake, you used to waste. And that's where we realized such a waste of, criminal waste of papers and prints are happening. Ink is expensive. It's not good for us. So we were always discouraging those prints. And BIMx is the best way. And I still observe there was an era where nobody had a smartphone. Obviously, print is the only way, no substitute for it.
Correct.
But the moment smartphone came, a good laptops came, everybody used to ask for PDFs. Earlier, DW used to go. Now, vendors and everybody used to ask for, give us the PDF. I said, why PDF? Then I realized nobody is using print. I am issuing prints. They remain one of the corner. Everybody uses the PDF files. On the site, over the phone, they have their drawings and everything. Then I said, BIMx is the best way because those drawings still can be outdated. My BIMx will be latest as per the version. And contractors are happy because they don't need to open those 100 PDFs. Here, all things are in one place. They can view the way they want it. Now, though BIMx has gone way ahead, I can close the layers, I can see extra information. That's awesome. So that no way BIMx will go out, sooner. That's going to be here, and that's our mainstream for production and issuing the drawings on site.
Looks like you are in love with BIMx more than the Archicad itself.
BIMx, though, definitely, I'm trying to tell my seniors also. In between last year, most of my senior team members used to work only limited to their design once their output through the 3D visualization and the plan. That's it. They were limited to that. And they used to move to next project. We said nothing doing because they were not knowing the power of BIMx. I said, no, you are not supposed to go on site to see the challenges, what is happening and doing certain changes which you missed at the design stage. No, we all have to get into BIMx, maybe project it into large format screen, walk into the space, do the correction and send the right design on site. And that's why we all are working on BIMx now. Anybody and everybody is working on BIMx. Everybody has an iPad. They communicate. They give the, any information is needed or some changes they expect from the team members. They follow that collaboration platform of BIMx and they are following now. Everybody is hooked to BIMx now.
So basically BIMx is helping you to design also and construct also. Can we say it that way?
Yes.
I mean, better design and better construction.
Yes. Design wise, visualization wise, it's a better platform over IFC viewers because I'm getting textures in this. So I do Sunpath also is seen in that. Yeah. So that is also another important. So design wise helping over there. And communication. Communication earlier used to be उसका फोटो निकालो उस पे लिखो या पीडीएफ पे लिखो या within the BIMx only we are doing the communication, writing, commenting and everything. So the communication for design as well as execution front, both area, the communication is also key requirement and we are getting out of BIMx. emails have got reduced because the entire information is remaining
One
inside
file.
one file.
Yeah.
And on-site, though, contractors are very happy to use as a construction document.
So your BIM shift to BIM shift with Archicad happened in 2017, October 2017. There are firms who are still not doing the BIM shift. What do you think? I mean, you did the right thing that you shifted in 2017, or this is the time, or 5 years later, or it should have been before 2017?
Very frankly, before, I'll always say, it was too late for us also. But TK, 7 years, 8 years back, we shifted. So whoever has not shifted, ideally will recommend, get your practice on BIM workflow. I know everybody has a phobia of cost, obviously, and the learning curve. These are the only two challenges. As a owner or a principal of the firm, he will think of कि मैं सीख पाऊंगा क्या या मैं सिखा पाऊंगा क्या, इसकी cost कितना होगा. These are the challenges. Obviously, everybody has to choose wisely which software they want, but they have to shift on BIM platform because the advantages are going to be there. If you want to have a single user solo practitioner or your 100 user practitioner, taking a right decision, right place, it's called digital twin concept thing in BIM, right? So you are doing actual whatever you're going to build on site, you're seeing yourself, you view your model. Though many of our senior architects were good with their proportions, sections and everything, but who will not like to have a 3D model coming in front of them and correcting such a few smaller things also. Everybody wants that. That fineness of the design can happen with the help of 3D modeling tool. And along with that, information is attached to that. So our time which goes in explaining the design and passing the information to the contractor, to the client, which is, is again a sheer sometime wastage of time. It's getting saved because of that BIM workflow. So everybody has to move on that.
So one biggest benefit that Beyond Design has got shifting to BIM, if you can, just one, I know there are many for you, but one which is like for you the biggest benefit of shifting to BIM.
I'll say I got an advantage I'm getting a time for my designing. That's the important aspect. Remaining things are happening. I'll get a faster people for production part. But the time which I need for my designing, I'm getting that.
Okay.
My team is happy for that.
Okay. So now coming to next, cost benefit of investing in software and cost benefit of investing in implementation, hand-holding, training. So out of, on the scale of 100, how will you say the cost benefit or the importance of software and the importance of hand-holding training?
Software anyway we have to buy. So I think that cost you have to buy. But if now that software is there and you want to reap the benefits of software, then definitely implementation is required. And if your business is at stake, you want production to happen immediately, then implementation is the key. So it's better to get the implementation going immediately rather than experimenting. Okay, there will be people say, I will learn by my own way, but it's difficult, because there is nothing called organized data available. You keep experimenting, you will learn, then you will take a lot of time. But it's better to, get the implementation done, do a pilot project and move on, because today it is required because our learning happened with the 2D workflow. If the education comes with the process where education itself start teaching 3D workflow, we will call it BIM workflow. I'll call it 3D workflow, So if that starts coming in, then maybe, it will become like yet another process. But today it is not. Today entire market is, we all are from 2D workflow era. In fact, today's generation who is passing out is also 2D generation era. They are using BIM softwares only to create a 3D views, and that's sad part. Nobody is understanding BIM as a process. If that starts coming from the education field itself, that is architecture colleges itself, then I think implementation won't. But right now, implementation is necessary.
One USP according to you of Dimension Plus, like, okay, this is in your understanding of our 8 years association, like Dimension Plus USP is this.
I'll call it dependability. Is I can rely on them. You know, it's वो help करेगा कि नहीं वो नहीं होता है. Okay, he will there. He may not have solution. He will do something. यहाँ देखो वहाँ देखो कुछ तो guide करके वो आगे बढ़ा देगा. So dependability की कुछ आया है. अरे यार इसका क्या करूँ मैं? So whether, you know, we started with our implementation process, that's where also I felt we were dependent on you, because I had to take a decision whether I should go for that project using Archicad or should I move to Revit way or should I leave that project. You know, so dependability, I'll say, is the most important aspect.
Okay. And one thing you feel that now Dimension Plus should focus at?
Creating awareness in BIM, you know, as a process. Software obviously will follow. You don't need to talk about Graphisoft, Archicad, so points. They will follow in your conversation. But creating awareness, why BIM? What is it? What is that? How to choose the right tool? You know, if you are able to create a lot of awareness about it and using Graphisoft tools who are like users like us already on Archicad, now we need, you know, power tools, advanced techniques in this thing. AI is coming up. Yesterday only I saw the teaser and I'm excited. Okay, they're calling some words and I can write and you know, my dimensioning will be auto. In fact, if you remember in last session, we were talking, can I get a software with AI which will give auto dimension? Yeah. I know Graphisoft already has auto dimensioning, but still it has its own way to fine tune, but still it saves a lot of time. But if AI is coming, so those kind of awareness, this platform, MEP is a big thing. You know, if you are able to create awareness about MEP can be done using these tools, because my consultants are still working on platforms which are just not so fast. Visualization not so good. They are taking time to do the clash detection. So awareness is really, really required. You should talk about more of a open BIM now. Because finally, if, you know, multiple software, India has a possibility of, you know, many players can come and work together. So there has to be a collaboration platform. And openBIM is the only way. Today we are talking IFC, tomorrow there is something, another platforms are coming up. But finally, IFC, if it is, you know, everybody understands that properly, how the information has to go in that, and then that go to other software. That will help everybody. So you should work towards those things. Creating awareness about GDL again more. Finding out people who can do GDL and Archicad programming and coming out with apps for our community. You know, Indian community. There are many platforms we see which are available in Australia, and we know CI tool is there, but there are tools still I see that their detailing is more for Australian market. You know, we need tools which are for our detailing. You know, so something like these, if you work towards it, it will be beneficial for us.
Thank you for that insight. One message for students. Young students or young graduates.
Okay. So first I'll take it students. Uh, First thing is learn what is architecture. In 5 years, it's difficult to learn everything. At least learn some basics and correct basics. Just don't follow software because I see resumes coming. I know this software. I know that is requirement. We need students to be industry ready using the platforms also. But first important thing is learn what is architecture. How to create a good architecture. Architecture has a lot of facets which is taught in architecture. Structures, services, those things you learn everything properly. Now I'll tell about the freshers. Be patient. You won't get the result or you won't get rewarded tomorrow. It will take time. It's just no way you can escape the grind. Now the grind can be very deceptive word. For you it may be grind. For me it may be enjoying moment. So do case studies. You are blessed to have knowledge on internet available for us. We used to read. Now AI is coming, so you are getting analyzed data in front of you, but you should validate it. So you be curious first. So somewhere I was reading, and I still agree in architecture also. If you don't have curiosity, you can't do architecture. So be curious in everything: technology, design, material, costing, everything, all aspects of architecture. So be curious. That's what I'll say to student also and to upcoming designers as well. That's important.
And what would be your message for those who have not shifted to BIM yet?
There are good designers, good architects who are coming with brilliant ideas. But if they don't get built or if they are not get explained properly on site or to contractor, the output doesn't come so well. And I saw these kind of designers, they get frustrated, I am doing such a hard work, but you are not able to execute properly. Because of the information doesn't get transferred. Because as an architect, I am a poetic in mind. I think that you should understand. But it doesn't happen. If that BIM comes in between, as a designer, you are going to put your everything in that information. And then contractors are going to be equipped to extract that information and execute your project as per your vision. So that's why, I'll always tell my friends, try and shift on this 3D process. If you are a core designer, still you work on a 3D process. And if you are part of execution, contracting and everything, then 3D process with the information, start putting in the model and start giving it. You will get more time for your designing. You will have a more quality of life. Or maybe if you are, have a vision of expanding your office, you will do maybe 3 more projects. So it's up to you. So implement.
So does it make business sense? I mean, usually all the architects will eventually ask this question. Does it make business sense?
Yeah. It definitely makes, I think a lot of data is already there on internet. We always in fact, my case studies also I showed. In terms of my timeline, 20 to 30% saving is very much there. Now that saving I'm utilizing in terms of my time for designing.
Correct.
So obviously time saving is there. And time is money. So obviously money is got to be there.
So today we had this amazing session and I was not, willing to end this, but obviously time is a constraint and Ajay sir being a really busy man. So I would want to, take a pause here. Probably if you all comment and, subscribe and ask us to do one more session, post your comments. Let us know if you want to know more about any particular topic from him. We can come again and have another session. Thank you very much for your time, sir. It was pleasure interacting with you like always, and we got a lot of insights. And if I summarize today's session, it is about you have to be passionate, you have to be patient, you need to have, a real approach about your design first. So curiosity also he talked about. He also talked about, learning right tools to express your ideas and finish your projects. And we also talked about the business sense of it. Also, not to forget, the shift, the BIM shift should happen sooner. Like in his words, sooner the better. You would want to add something, sir, to this, to summarize?
So, Shivang, I think these kind of sessions, what you are organizing and creating a movement is a good thing. First, I really like the word called BIM shift. That shift is needed. Architectural industry is always last one to adopt the technologies. We have to be front runner because global data says construction industry is the biggest industry in terms of growth of country. So we have to use technology so that we get a more time for designing. That's how will I say to my designer friends, the friends who are into actually production and industrial thing, they will be able to give the output on a error-free way. So let's move on to BIM as early as possible. That's it. And thanks, Shivang, for having this conversation. Thanks for inviting me here to talk about BIM and my journey.
Thank you for your time, sir. It was
you.
Pleasure. Yeah. Based on the comments, we will do next session if you all comment. Thank you.